Hello students, this is Sir Shankar, and I hope you all uh, are fit and fine at home. Now, after completing the second chapter from Supplementary Reader of class 7, I am here today with you with the chapter 3, the desert. So, we have completed almost from 5 chapters from the English reader and some of the topics that we have taken from the grammars also, and so we will finish this up to lesson 5 from the supplementary reader. Then after giving you the notes, we will what uh, see some topics in the grammar sections. Okay, so today we will see the third lesson from the supplementary reader. So desert, so we will talk about here about the desert. So my dear students, what the things it comes to our mind when we read something, when we got something about the desert, and and the desert is generally without what the water and vegetation, where there is no vegetation, where there is no water. No water means very little water, rarely it rains. Okay, then but sometimes there in the middle of the desert we can find a beautiful sight also. So, and a desert, it may be too hot or too cold. So those of us who live in the regions which which is covered with forest, which is covered with hills, which is covered with mountains, they may find it difficult to imagine what desert is really like. They believe that it is an endless stretch of what sand, where there is no rain falls, and therefore no vegetation grow. No rain falls means no vegetation grow. It is a belief of some peoples who lives in the regions like mountains, hills, forest. Okay, and it is a dry, hot, waterless, and without shelter. But no, their belief is entirely what not entirely correct. Their belief is not entirely correct. Some things is correct, but not entirely. So for those who have studied about the desert, they might have heard about that some desert is also a beautiful place. It is the home of its different what varieties of peoples, varieties of animals. It is the home of varieties of animals. It is the home of varieties of plants. It is the home of varieties of animals. And these all animals, they have learned how to live under very hot and dry condition. They have learned, they have adopted a habit of living in such a condition. So the ground, it is obvious, it is not always hidden by a covert of grass, plants and trees, as we can see in other climates. But whenever it rains, it rarely rains in the desert, but when it rains, the flowers blooms and the sight can be rewarding as that of any tropical garden. That when it rains and the flowers bloom, that it look like the place just like a tropical garden. Now, a desert, what is there? It is a flat, unchanging wasteland. You will find that it is not a stretch, a flat land. It is different. Everywhere it is different. It is not a flat one. Flat means like same level. The land in the desert area, it is not same everywhere. It may have mountains also, it may have hills also, it may have an oasis means what, it may be a big or small, is like a green island. in the middle of the desert, a green island where you will get, you know, uh, water there. And nearby this island you will find plants also. Nearby the island you will find this oasis, you will find the trees, and because of that there the plants they grow in a better way. And you have heard about the desert, the cold desert and the hot desert. The cold desert, like Ladakh, we have heard in India, a place is there, right? In Ladakh, there is a cold desert, and in Thar, there is a hot desert. So, generally, what it says that if a person has little or no water, if a place has little or no water and vegetation, then people usually call it a desert. Got it? Clear? So when people they think that it is a desert, when people they think it is a desert, or it is just a ordinary place, when people have heard that there is no water, there is no vegetation, they may call it that this is a desert. Now some deserts are there, they are almost totally without water. Like some such places, they what it happen, strong winds blows, raising heaps of sands and depositing them as mounds. And sometimes big winds blow very heavily, and the sand of one place it will taken away by the winds to the other place, and there it make it that sands it look like a mountain. These are called sand dunes. These are called sand dunes because of these winds. They take away the sands of one place to the other and formed a what mountain. This a small mountains called the sand dunes, and that shift and moved endlessly across this mountain. They are not uh, at one place. They are not at one place. This mountain they shift their place from one place to the other. And again, few plants are there in they can survive in such dry sands. Few plants can survive on such dry sand. Okay, not many, but only few plants they can survive in this dry sand, shifting sands. Okay, they shift. Now the first part we have completed. In the second part we will see what it is there. In the second part I think we will finish this second part. It will not be that much long, so we will finish this. Okay, here in the second part what is there, all living things need water in order to survive. It is correct, all living things. It is not that only the living things of one place need water in order to survive. All the living things they need. So the few plants are there and animals that live in deserts have developed the ability to require less water than most plants and animals. The camels, popularly known as the sheep of the desert, you may heard about this camel, right? That camel is called the sheep of the desert and drink a lot of water at one time. Camel can do without what water for days together. The reason is they sweat very little. We sweat because we must keep our body temperature constant. We sweat when it's get hot, and this cools the body. Okay, camels can stand high body temperature. They don't need to sweat also, and can therefore retain the water they drink for a long period of time. You will find here in the second part that many plants they need water for their survive, in order to survive. Some animals are there in the deserts, they also adopt such type of things to survive in the desert. One animal is there here, and is called the camel. This animal is called the sheep of the desert, and this animal, it can drink lot of water at a time. At a time, it can drink a lot of water, and they can do the work, okay, without what, they can do the work without water for many days. Without drinking water, they can do the work for many days. Why it is so? Because they don't sweat. They sweat very little. They sweat very little. And we drink every day the water because we sweat much than what, uh, the camel. So that is why it can, the camel can restore its water in the body, but we cannot restore water in our body because all the waters, it comes out in the form of sweats and all. And the camel, it sweats very little. We sweat because what, we must keep our body temperature constant. In a constant way, we need to keep our body temperature. Now we sweat, when we get hot, right? And this cools the body. This sweat also is very important for our body. Whenever we are feeling very hot, it help to make our body very cool. This sweat help us to make our body cool. It gets hot and this cools the body. Camel can stand what, high body temperature. They don't need to sweat and can therefore retain the water they drink for a long period of time. So we cannot do this like camel. Some smaller deserts are animals are there, they do not drink water. What they do, they live under the water, underground. No, they burrow underground during the hot day, then come out at night to eat. They were living underground, that under the sand during the daytime, because under the sand it is very cold. If they come out outside, then no, they what, they cannot survive there. So they live during the day, and at night they come out, then they start eating whatever they get. Some of them are there, what they eat other animals and get the water they need from the moisture in the meat. So the water they get after eating the other animal. Some animals are there, they eat the other animal and they get the moisture, they get the water from the other animal after eating their meat. Now some others are there, they eat plants. Some other animals who live in the desert, they eat plants and seeds and get the water they need from plant juices. They get the juice from these seeds, from these plants, okay. And some desert some desert plants also adapt themselves to the life they lead. Some plants also, like animals, plants also, they adopt themselves to survive in the desert. Like example, cactus plants, they store water in their stem. In their in their stem, they store their water. And their roots lie close to the surface of the ground. Their roots, it lie where, very close to the surface of the ground, and it quickly absorbs the moisture from the light rain also. Their roots are not very under the ground, on the surface of the ground. And what light water, if they get the light rain, if they get, then they can what, absorb the moistures. Now the major feature of all deserts is of course dryness. It is of course the dryness and variation of temperature. In humid climates, what it happen, the moistures in the air acts like a blanket. In humid climate means the water vapor present in the air, that is called the humid climate, and we feel very hot. The water vapor which is present in the air, that is called the humid climate. So the moistures in the air acts like a blanket, and the moistures whatever is there in the air, it's like a blanket, and that protects the earth's surface from the hot rays. And because of that water vapor on the air, water vapor in the air, it acts like a blanket and protects the earth from the what, hot rays of the sun, from the hot rays of the sun. And if the absence of this, the blanket in desert land causes the desert to heat up rapidly during the day and to cool off repeatedly at night. Uh, if there is no presence of this humid in the air, then uh, it causes very uh, it heat up rapidly when during the day and cools off rapidly at night. So deserts are a very important part of nature's great plan. They are there like the dense forest and the deep oceans, like how it is there on the earth. Forests are there, oceans are there. Just like these, deserts are also important part of nature's great plan. We cannot avoid, we cannot neglect this. We have to see the beauty of these. So we cannot say all these things by saying that it is very difficult, it is very hard. This is also a nature's great plan. So we have to see the beauty of everything, whatever is there. So just because they are hot and dry, one should not look upon them as useless part of the earth. Yes, what I said right now, just because of the hot and dry, one should not look upon them as useless parts of the earth. We cannot say that this part of the art is useless. We cannot say, we cannot avoid the desert area, so we have to use it and adopt a habit of living there. And those who are making a habit of living in the desert area, we should what, learn from them also. Okay, not instead of saying this and that to them, so we should encourage them that even being so hot, no, they are living, they are surviving there in the hot place. So today this much only. So we have completed this third lesson also. So in the next class I will finish the, if possible, finish this chapter 4, or if it is very lengthy, then in 2 class we will finish up. Then what, I will provide you the notes after finishing the chapter 4 explanation. Okay, so today this much only. Hope you have understood. Stay at home, take a very good care of your health. So thank you very much.